everybody. You're all very, very welcome for this evening's panel discussion, launching a month of art, culture, tourism, and celebration of beauty, relevance, significance, progressive Africa. And congratulations on being the first here, because, as they say, the kingdom of God belongs to you. This evening, we have a very, very good number of celebrated artists, cultural aficionados, and tourism promoters, not just up front, but I know in the audience as well. The panel discussion is going to be led by the three eminent people to my left. My name is Simon, and all I will be doing this evening is guiding the discussion. You will be welcome at a certain point to join in with your observations, views. I'm sure you don't have many questions up front there. And heckling is permitted but very strongly discouraged. Clapping, very, very encouraged, especially when a good point is made. Starting from my extreme left, we've got Henry Mujunga, who I normally call Zilix, but this evening I'll be calling Henry for formality's sake. As you can see, he's a very formal gentleman.
Good evening.
You're very welcome, Henry. Henry is an artist of very good note, and he's going to be sharing his thoughts this evening on art, culture, and tourism, how the three blend. To my immediate left, we've got Francis Ojede, who's Executive Director of the Uganda National Cultural Center, which consists of not just the National Theatre, but Nomo Gallery as well, and even this location where we're sitting here, and every cultural location that exists in Uganda. Francis, welcome.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
And in the center, we have the Executive Director of the Uganda Tourism Board, not the person that you normally see as Executive Director. And this evening, she's standing in, so we have a very big person with us. This is Sylvia Kalembe, who's in charge of promoting tourism in Uganda. Sylvia, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Art, culture, tourism. I can say very many things about those three words put together, but it's going to be the task of these three people to do so this evening. So I'm going to ask Henry to kick us off, since art is his forte and it's the first word in that phrase.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As you heard, my name is Henry Mzili Mjunga, and I am an artist, but I am also the curator of the first Kampala Art Biennale, and I think I'm here in those two capacities. I would like to start this discussion by emphasizing what Simon was talking about. He said the discussion is about art, culture, and tourism, and the need for integration. Actually, the need for integration is a question. Do we have to integrate art, culture, and tourism? That is probably what we are trying to resolve or to contribute to. That's the kind of discussion we are trying to contribute to this evening. So allow me to start by saying that, in my opinion, visual art is an integral factor of the arts. And also the arts are an integral part of culture. So all these things are already connected from birth. Yeah? And among the things we must consider valuable for our sustainable existence, and ones that would actually definitely warrant public and private investment, is our cultural practice. Yeah? This is primarily due to the innate value that is latent in culture. We've got a lot of life-enhancing factors. We've got entertainment. We've got a definition of personal and national culture and identity within the arts. And I think because of this reason, we should be able to discuss this subject, knowing that actually most of the stuff that we do depends on it. Otherwise, we need to discuss its social and economic implications. But the economic implications should be discussed later. Otherwise, we shall, like Oscar Wilde said, we shall be knowing the price of everything and not the value of anything. Yeah?
That's a very good point.
Thank you.
I don't think Oscar Wilde ever expected to be quoted. Kampala, Uganda. So, honors to him. Francis, culture, tourism, art.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am so delighted. My name is Francis Peter Ojede, Executive Director of Uganda National Cultural Center. I'm so happy to be discussing this topic today, particularly because we're talking about the link between art, culture, and tourism. To me, I want to start from a fairly different perspective, because then it would give us the way to link it. I wanted to look at what culture is, because that's where I am really rooted in. And you know, so many ways of defining culture, but I picked on one. And you know, you're talking about culture, and the word is coming from the word cultivate. And therefore, I want to talk about cultivation. And I'm sure quite a number of us are familiar with cultivation. What then is cultivation? And I'm looking at tilting of soil or plowing. That's the way I want to look at culture. So when you talk about culture, you're really talking about cultivation. You're talking about tilting. You're really talking about getting something and you're expecting to have a yield. You want to cultivate and you expect a yield. Now, that's where culture starts from. And therefore, when you talk about culture, it's the beginning of everything. You want to live, and therefore you need to start, and you need to, get the ground which is leveled so that you can plant your seeds. So every seed that we talk about, fruits, and we talk about, things that we're going to do now, in terms of, say, for instance, to be in context, when you talk about the family, you plant, you want to see how do you want the family to live for generations. You plant that seed. But for you to plant, you need to level the ground. And that means you need to cultivate. And if you cultivate, you need to prune. And therefore, culture also needs to be pruned. It's not just leaving it open. So you plant, prune it, and allow it to grow. Your expectation is to have the best yield. And therefore, you are saying we need to get the best people we can talk about with the best cultures, and then we promote it. Now, that's when you bring in the component of tourism. You've already cultivated, and tourism comes in to say, this is our product. Come and buy. It's good for you.
I'll take the ball at that point. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Sylvia.
Yes, madam.
He sent the ball straight to you. Cultivation, yield, and we know that the yield is right where you are.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Simon, and my colleagues. Well, art, culture, tourism, we cannot do away with each other. All these things happen without probably other people noticing that all these things are coexisting. Picking it up from what the executive director said of the Cultural Center, National Cultural Center, when you think about Uganda in terms of culture, in terms of art, in terms of tourism, we have over 65 different ethnic groups, and all of them are very unique in their own right. And if we started to analyze the individual things of each of the different ethnic groups, you actually find that our country is blessed and is diverse. Now, the element of art helps, like what my brother Henry mentioned, helps us to live together in our communities. Some people do presentations to help us understand how to live in our societies. So societies also engage in some of these things for a livelihood. So in short, art, culture, tourism complement each other. We cannot do away with each other. And the different elements, whether it's entertainment, whether it's what I would call storytelling. Storytelling is a stupid thing, but in terms of tourism, product
what
diversity.
Thing?
Yeah, because all of us are born in this era. Maybe you would not appreciate some of the small little stories that are told, but I know that all of us here or everywhere, we've either been to a kindergarten or we've had a grandmother or grandfather. But storytelling is very important. And this is something that enriches our societies as well. But at the same time, my brother Henry said we should not talk about the economic bit, but the economic bit of all this is really enormous.
Actually, Sylvia, the economic bit, just to stick with that point, the economic bit is normally where people believe tourism promotion comes into play. But do you not see an economic role or responsibility on the side of the artists and the cultural promoters for you as a tourism promoter?
That's not clear, Simon.
Normally people think that tourism is what brings in money. Mm-hmm. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yes, you guys should also be part of this. But when I want Sylvia to get it, tourism is what brings in the money. That's what people normally believe. Mm-hmm. But don't you see a responsibility on their part in bringing in that money?
I think I have stated it clearly that we complement each other. We cannot do away from each other.
Yes.
For instance, I am a tourism promoter. I market tourism. I go and probably do it both ways, either locally or internationally. And when some of our guests come here, even me, sometimes I travel around and I go to these shops. There is no place I go to and I will probably not buy a lovely basket because when I reach home, I want to put in my bananas, okay? And sometimes when I am hosting some people, maybe international promoters or sailors or international travel writers, I need to take them somewhere and probably I will invite percussion discussion to come and entertain them. So really we are...
You're interlocked.
We are interlocked, you know. If I have to present a lovely cup of coffee in one of our restaurants, maybe like Park Cafe, you know, the staff and the team that will present that coffee to the people, the way they will present it, for somebody to have that feel that this is Ugandan coffee, there is some sort of communication, you know, that happens, you know, and the cultural factors are there, we cannot avoid them. That's why you see that in some of these places, you find them struggling to make some outfits out of kikoi or some African fabric. So really we are...
You're already intertwined.
Yeah, we are. We only want to use this opportunity, you know, of this Biennale coming to our country, to re-emphasize, to strengthen our synergies, and make people appreciate that we cannot do away from each other.
Very good. Henry, I'm sure those are comforting words coming from the boss of tourism. You're already intertwined. Do you feel that we're doing enough, or should we do more? If so, what?
Yeah, definitely there's a lot to be done, and I'm sure everyone around here will agree that much as there are lots of efforts geared towards promoting tourism in this country, there's very little being done until now about government emphasizing, say, fine art or visual arts, which sector I represent. And I'm so happy that Sylvia has reiterated what the minister said earlier in our press conference, that the Ministry of Tourism is going to place a lot of emphasis on getting new ways of interesting visitors to this country. And I think that the synergy that she's talking about is very, very important in getting that. I wanted to kind of go into a prescriptive discussion. It's not really like the solution to the problem, but I'm sure that what I would say would help to probably formulate government policy on how we are going to deal with each other. That is how the arts are going to deal with tourism, so that we can move forward. The first thing that I wanted to emphasize is there's a need to establish some kind of organized system within the arts. Yeah, and this is something to do with art councils or art associations being strengthened and supported by government. Yeah. Everyone who is doing their little bit, and here I'm talking nationally, I'm not just talking about Kampala, should be helped by government in one way or another, so that they can actually consolidate their efforts. That is very, very important. But we cannot do that while on the other hand, the government is calling for the training of more doctors, emphasis on science, and in a way abandoning the arts. We need to understand that actually one area where we have comparative advantage is in culture, is in the arts. It's not in the sciences. The other countries are light years ahead of us. So we need to emphasize the training of artists so that we can consolidate a cadre of people who are actually going to create all these exciting activities.
It's good you're saying that, Henry.
Yes,
so
yes.
You're not saying to our government or to young You're saying we are here, we are strong, give us more support, right?
Yeah, the kind of support we are calling for is not necessarily financial. Yeah, it is one, understanding what we are talking about. At least trying to understand what we are talking about. Because it's already difficult for most people to understand what art is all about. I am an artist, I've been practicing for 15 years, but I still don't know what art is. I cannot define it, but I feel it in my bone, and it's there, and it's in my daily practice, and I see it happening around me, but I'm trying to figure out what it is, but I know it's very powerful as a tool for promotion of tourism. I have some examples of countries where this has been successful. I want to bring to point the Dakar Biennale in Senegal. Yeah? When it started in, there's an argument whether it started in 1989 or later, but when it started in 1989, the government of Senegal gave it full support. I don't know why they did that, but those guys were very wise. Because right now as we speak, one of the biggest events in Senegal that is attracting tourists is the Dakar Biennale. Everyone knows that, yes. People are no longer focusing on the previous stories of the trans-Saharan slave trade, because they had a lot of stuff to do with that in Senegal. But now people are emphasizing art as a very important point for tourism. Yeah? And then the other thing that I would want to say, and then I will let my colleagues speak, is that we need to strengthen the existing relationships within the different sectors. For example, we've got lots of hotels in Uganda that have a traditional relationship with artists and craftspeople. They already have that relationship. And what we need now is for these people who own these hotels to actually understand the kind of relationship they have with these people in as far as boosting visitors to the country, you know. That's very, very important. Yeah? So if we can help all these, the hotels and the artists get the information going around, and by helping, I mean listen to them and advise them. The government guides us. Yeah? And finally, I think that I'm going to kind of contradict myself, because I said it should give us moral support, but where the government can actually make a difference is by injecting money directly into the arts and culture. Yeah? It can support financially the Kampala Art Biennale, for instance. It can support programs that are meant to train and promote local, I'm going to talk about my area, visual artists. Yeah, it can do that because I have an example. The Australian government has been doing that for a long time. They've been giving funds directly to support the arts and culture, and I'm sure all these developed countries are already doing that. So why don't we do it? Because for me, I think that is the only thing we've got to do.
And I fully agree with you. And I think you're also supporting Sylvia's point. You complement each other. Tourism cannot do without art and culture. So if the government wants to invest in tourism, they should invest in art and culture, right? Francis, you run a government department that is promoting culture. Do you feel we are doing enough, we being the government, since the government is made up of the people, or should we do more?
Good question. I think the question is really good because, one, we are now beginning to appreciate and also to drum up the issue of culture. originally the issue of culture, the issue of art, the issue of, they were being put at a lower level. People never wanted to appreciate it. I can give an example. I mean, there was a whole department in Makerere which used to teach music, dance, and drama, and people despise it. So the mentality that was put into the issue of art was negative. When you go for art, you say that one is a failure. That was the mentality. But if you looked at it from the other side, the best and the most powerful people, the rich people, and people who have really been very creative are artists. And examples are there. I can give example. Nigeria, for instance, it's one of the areas that is now striving. The economy is number 2, second to oil. Go to India, for instance. I was in India. You cannot do anything before you talk about culture in India. Similar to Singapore, those Oriental countries, it is the best. And they say that once you have a good cultural background, then definitely you're able to do other things. The culture goes into issues like even teaching your children how to keep money, that you need to invest, you need to save, you need to do this. The culture starts, and therefore, that is an area that as a government, we need to put a lot of emphasis on. We have not been putting enough, but I think government needs to put in more, and therefore, we need also to invest into the cultural issues in schools, so that our young people begin to appreciate this culture. We need to also invest in our leaders, the parliamentarians. We need to let our government officials understand and appreciate that when you talk about, for instance, in this area, visual art, these are things that would create employment. We're talking about unemployment. That's an area. If you invested a lot of money in it, you would be able to create employment for people. People generate their own money and so forth. Similarly with the performing art, we have been having a performance in our auditorium. I mean, if you train somebody to appreciate how to maybe play guitar, dance, you've already empowered the person. So I think the government policy needs to be stronger in this area. And then we also need to, you like to hear this, because apart from that, you've just mentioned it, we need to invest in some of these things, the infrastructures. I can tell you, if you're talking about performing art, you'll naturally be talking about the National Theatre. That's the only place people would be talking about for us as a government. But we should be having all this in the regions, in the different parts of the country, so that we're able to nurture the young ones, we build the talents, and then out of that, we're able to get the benefits that accrue out of these things. Now, these are some of the things that I would talk about, because we're talking about culture. But still, a question that he has raised, how do you link this to tourism? My simple answer is, if you set the foundation, I just mentioned earlier on that when you cultivate, all these you're cultivating. Once the fruits are there, give it to these guys in tourism and say, please go out there, market us, tell people how this is. Then there's a complete link. Then once they've marketed, then people will come to see the items we're talking about. People will come and definitely the money will be there. And then that money that they come, these people will also be able to inject some to them so that they promote us more, and some will come to us. So there's going to be a vicious cycle, and therefore everybody wins. The tourism sector wins, the cultural sector wins, the arts wins, because there's harmony. And this is what we should actually be promoting, the harmony between art, the harmony between culture, and the harmony between the tourism sector. And as I said earlier, so there is a very clear connect.
Well, luckily, the month of August is giving us a good opportunity to harness the benefits of this harmony with the Kampala Art Biennale. Ladies and gentlemen, you're all very welcome for the launch this month of appreciation of art, culture, and tourism in Kampala. Sylvia, Francis and Henry have mentioned very many interesting points, very many powerful points.
Great.
I'm here tweeting and saying a lot about this, and I can tell you the amount of interest that these tweets are gathering is amazing. Those of you who already saw on Twitter, use the hashtag Kampala Biennale. The spelling of Biennale is a bit rare for those of you who don't speak Italian. It's right there. And after today, I know it's going to be extremely common. Hashtag Kampala Biennale. That's on Facebook as well as on Twitter. Among the things that these two gentlemen have said, Sylvia, is the need for more, I shouldn't say more focus, the need to spread the promotion of art and culture up country. One of them said it in passing, but I noted it quite clear. And I know that the Ghana Tourism Board is doing a lot more local, regional tourism, not just in the wildlife conservation areas. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Even recently, on Mother's Day, this year for the first time we had a recognition of different shrines or memorable points along the Mother's route. How far are you looking at local, regional tourism?
In general, in terms of promoting regional tourism, we already have a strategy in place of promoting domestic tourism, and that is to complement the existing activations that are ongoing. One of them, generally, that we use is the World Tourism Day. It's one of the events that we use to promote local tourism in such a way that we actually rotate from different regions and different towns. Last year we were in Fort Portal. The year before last year we were in Gulu. This year we are going to be in Mbale, in Maluku. All of you know that this is the year of circumcision, and that has a lot to do with culture, so we are in business. And as I speak right now, we have a UTB team in Mbale. They've been pitching camp the whole week. We are working together with the guys at Mutoto, cultural site for circumcision in Mbale. So
that's culture.
This is culture. And we really are trying to drum it, our people to understand it. It's rich, it's unique, it's our heritage, and it's what gives us identity as Uganda, and we promote it. The other thing that we are using, some of the things, the initiatives we are undertaking to promote domestic tourism, is we have an ongoing project under the UNDP, which is promoting poor tourism, as in trying to get those people down there that can do something, something touristic. And we have so many of these people, and we are trying to link them up, have forged some business linkages with tour operators. I give you an example. Sometimes people don't like this, but it's okay, I will say it. In Kenya, they have a well-structured way of doing it. I don't know how. Maybe it's a strategy, one of their strategies. Most of the tour companies in Kenya, when they, and their counterparts, the wholesalers from the international markets, when they bring tourists, by the time they bring them, they know that at the end of the tour, people are interested in buying souvenirs. Maybe people are interested in going to a fantastic restaurant in Kampala to have a nice Ugandan meal, So what they do is that they make sure that they tap in with all these people, and they make sure that the tour leaders of these guys take them, for instance, they would bring them to National Theatre, and I see it happening, but I don't know how, but probably we need to improve on how it is done. Maybe we'll benefit more from this kind of engagement. They would take them to specific places, maybe if they want to showcase Ugandan coffee, which has stood out for sure.
The best coffee in the world.
The best coffee in the world. Then you take them, She has uploaded us. So thank you, my sister. So those are some of the initiatives that we are doing. We are promoting proper tourism, and we have an ongoing project, like I said, under UNDP, and small groups, people doing basketry, and we are going to put out this information to the public so that they know. If I go to Southwest, or if I take this route to Fort Portal, for instance, there is a fantastic community there of women in Rubona. It's called Rubona Basketry. You stop there, and these women are amazing. They make Ugandan baskets. They pick leaves and flowers from the wild, you know, and they use these flowers and plants to get colors. So the different colors that you see, the natural colors that you see of baskets made in Uganda, you know.
It's traditional.
It's traditional, you know.
Down over the edges.
Exactly. And these are experiences that we are talking about that we need to sell out there. However, I want also to compliment what my brother Henry and Edie said here, that we need to do more. And I picked up one thing where you said government has to do more. Government has to do more. This is how it works. If you want government to do more, then it has to be smuggled into policy level. And we can go through his department. We smuggle it in at policy level. And the way it is done is that people can be called and consulted at different levels. We can have consultative meetings countrywide, not only those people in Kampala. We involve everyone, we consult them and pick their views. How best can we do this? So once that is done up there, it is so easy. Then all the other people will pick it up easily and they can easily put it in their budgets and that sort of thing. And then it comes down to strategy, the individual strategy. And the other thing is that you must appreciate, in Uganda, many times we have a problem with attitude, you know. Same with domestic tourism, you know. It's a hard sell. It's a hard sell.
Domestic tourism, you mean Ugandans going?
Exactly, going to places like the way you see Americans do it. They have so many states, a population of over 300 million people. And they always travel within their own country. You know, they're encouraged to do this and here we need to do it more. But the problem and the challenge has always been the attitude. So what am I saying? Is that the artists need to form what I would call, in a shrewd manner, a pressure group. Although you would be lobbying, you know. In tourism, we have done this and it has worked perfect. We have a tourism lobby group, and these guys lobby. I'm sure you've been reading about VAT. They lobbied last year up to the president. We are not ready, Your Excellency, to pay VAT. We need another year. And they were listened to. But if you leave it to Henry alone, it's a hard sell. You need to come together, you form a positive pressure group, begin lobbying all levels. It's not that you would feel like, why do I have to do it anyway? But we are all Ugandans. You know, this is our country. We have a stake, and so that's the reason why we have to do the few things that we actually do.
I like that challenge of forming a lobby group. And Henry, I think that's a very good idea. Though you might want to join the tourism lobby group, since the objective is one and the same. What do you think?
Yeah, I must say now we are already part of the tourism lobbying group because, I mean, with, for example, the Kampala Art Biennale, we already beginning discussions and creating interest within government, you know, through the tourism ministry. Yeah, I think that is already a way forward, a good way forward. However, I would like to emphasize the point that you're making about forming pressure groups. Now, for people to make effective pressure groups, they must understand what their cause is. What is it that they want, the objective, yeah? What is it that you want to tell, say, government, yeah? Now, for me, I think that this has been a major challenge for us as artists. We've most of the time been either scattered or in constant disagreement on the modus operandi, how are we going to go about doing this? And I think that with these new discussions that are happening in Kampala, we are going to sort that out. Because the other time we were criticized by the president of the tourism board, UTB, chairman of the tourism board. He was saying we are disorganized, we are scattered. But I think we are now in a period where we are merging out of this chaotic zone and into some kind of consolidated efforts. But I would just like to urge my fellow artists and other people who are interested in arts and culture to continue strengthening the existing linkages, because this is a point I mentioned earlier, that we need actually to explore the existing linkages and use them maximally so that eventually we form this pressure group that is going to actually now put pressure on government to get involved. I just wanted to throw in one little point about the importance of art for me as a visual artist. If we talk about money, if we talk about economics, yeah, there is a lot of money for the Ugandan government to make by promoting artists. I just wanted to bring a small example of a Ghanaian artist called El Anatsui. El Anatsui. Anatsui, yes. This guy has been selling art pieces for prices as high as $800,000. Yeah? And this is one person. Now, if you look at how much we get from, say, selling gorilla permits, I'm reliably informed that a gorilla permit is like $600. And you are trying to work out how many gorilla permits can we get from, say, one El Anatsui artwork. Wow. I've worked out the maths. I think you'll get like 1,300 gorilla permits.
Wow.
Now, I'm also reliably informed that on average, Uganda sells 1,000 permits. That means it sells less than what this guy makes from one picture. Now, you work out the maths and then you will see where the money is.
Thank you very much. Very good point. I think that when you threaten us that the economics will come later.
I know now why.
I don't own any Anatsui yet, but I believe later this evening we're going to have the opportunity to see some more art pieces. Is El Anatsui one of the exhibitors?
Unfortunately, no, but we are working on it. This is the first Kampala Art Biennale. So the subsequent ones will definitely get these big guys.
Actually, Henry, at this point, can we talk a little bit about the Kampala Art Biennale? What do we expect to see over the next 1 month? And then allow Francis and Sylvia also state the expectations.
Okay. Yeah, during this month of August, we are going to look at mainly two-dimensional artworks coming in from 13 countries. And we have over 45 artists showing in Kampala in these three venues. The venues are, we have the museum, Makerere University Gallery, and Normal Gallery. And the artworks have been selected in such a way that they give you room to look around and enjoy them, but also to create some kind of stories and understanding of what the theme was all about, because our theme was Progressive Africa. So we want you to be able to answer these questions or to pose new questions about whether Africa is making progress or not. And this is going to go on for the whole month. We also have side events, which you will get to know from Arts 256 and the catalog if you can acquire one at a minimal, at a nominal fee. Yes, that's the newsletter. Yeah, that's the newsletter. But we have a catalog which also tells you about the venues for the side shows. We have individual artists who are going to be doing their own activations around the city, and all that information is with the Arts 256. Is there anything I've left out? Okay. Yeah.
Very good. And there's going to be more of an opportunity to engage and say more. I'll be asking somebody else to speak at the end of this session. Francis, we are coming up to the wrap-up segment of this panel discussion. One, what are your expectations for the rest of this month, and how are we going to further utilize culture, especially during this month, during the Biennale, to promote tourism?
Yeah, I do really, first of all, this is a very great opportunity for the artists and the public to come together, the synergy. And therefore, I expect that a lot more about art, about culture, and about, okay, we'll be able to project what we do. And really, to me, I see it as a great opportunity. The other thing which I also looked at, which my colleagues have mentioned, is that I'm also looking at a domestic tourism being promoted as well, other than just the international tourism, which everybody's familiar with. So I hope that Ugandans will be able to participate in these events by way of probably going to visit these places that we have mentioned, and also buy art pieces, and above all to have this as an event that continuously run. Now, I looked at something just recently, and I was talking to a colleague 2 days ago. When I looked at and which he has raised, the issue of pricing, and it's an interesting thing which I want to look at, because our pricing tends to be uniform. We have not segmented our pricing, and probably we have not understood how to do our pricing, the arts particularly. So you'll find somebody has just copied your product, which probably is targeting international, and then somebody is same price and targeting the local. Then you have failed in the price mixing. And therefore, I see that as a big area for our local artists. And therefore, I think it's an area that we need to strengthen. We need to help our artists, so that we need somebody, I mean, we could coordinate it and help artists to know how to cost their products and know how to sell at different prices, but it may not be the same for the different customers. This is something that...
You want to buy an Aksui
yes.
at less than $800,000.
Yes. You should be able to do that, and then in a way, I think that's the way that we rely on the labor turnover, I mean the turnover that you're going to sell. Many products are sold, and then you are motivated to make more, because as opposed to making one product, which is going to be, taking a whole month before it is sold, and therefore it discourages the promotion of artists making more. I saw that recently in our gallery, and I thought this is an area that we can tap in, and we can. But
sorry, just be clear about this example.
Yes.
What happened in the gallery? Did we have different prices for Ugandans and different for foreigners?
A good question, because if you went to our gallery, you'll find everything priced in dollars. Okay, that's to begin with. And to me, I think not every Ugandan can afford dollars. So you need to cascade it and say there should be prices in Uganda shillings as well. And then go deeper. You'll find products, like you said, somebody has a product of $800. And this very product can be sold fine. But if you decided to discount, I mean, look at your calculation and say that these are the costs, the time that I've spent in producing this item. And if that cost is this much, what little should I add on so that I get something out of it? When I looked at those products, some of them I don't think those calculations have been done. and for that matter, the items remain there. And I think this is something we need to take on.
Okay, I think, Francis, you're challenging our artists to target more Ugandans
yes.
than foreigners.
Yes, we need that, yeah.
I think point taken. Sylvia, I believe the tourism sector is many times also accused of targeting more foreigners than Ugandans. So picking up from Francis' point, as we begin the wrap up.
Well, Francis has kind of wrapped it up very well. I loved his comment on pricing, and the issue of capacity building has come up very strongly. We need to get some role models, and you could get this guy you are talking about, to come and build capacity, and then we hype it up, and pricing, as we all know, even for the tourism sector in general, most people brand Uganda as an expensive destination, and these are some of the reasons. Our hotels, they like putting their prices in dollars, and if I am born in Fort Portal and I want to go to Mountains of the Moon, sometimes I could walk in and I find everything is maybe $100, blah blah, and that sort of thing. It's really affecting. It would be good for us to give, to give people.
But is the duty be in charge of that? Is the duty be in charge of ensuring that hotels follow certain standards?
Pricing, we still have issues with that. But as you mentioned, we are in charge of ensuring that we have quality staff. We set the standards. But as you know, like I said earlier on, all these things happen through lobbying. You know, you don't just go, because I don't own a hotel, you don't own one. Government used to have many, and you know, and they were all sold out. So the issue is that if we take care of our pricing properly of everything, you know, because right from the beginning I told you, art, culture, tourism, we cannot divorce from each other. Then, you know, then people will enjoy the diversity, the tourism diversity of Uganda, whether in art, whether in culture, people will enjoy it. Also, still on the matter of lobbying and getting a little bit more organized, eventually when you form your own probably association, whatever you may call it, a pressure group, whatever you may call it, would be nice to engage in some of these social corporate responsibility things that would, you know, educate our people more. When you go and, if artists go and do a borehole in Chanamukaka, you know, and you look for a small hotel there, you showcase what you do, you'll be surprised. You might get somebody who has talent in that village and is doing something that probably you don't know about.
I can speak for the artists when it comes to CSR, linked to the Kampala Art Biennale. These artists went and painted a zebra crossing at a primary school here in Kampala as part of events leading up to this Biennale. And that Henry Mujunga you see over there was squatting on that road for, was it 4 to 5 hours?
4 hours.
4 hours, creating a beautiful zebra crossing, whose impact, I can tell you, the children of that school are very happy about.
Yeah, and why am I saying this?
They are going to paint many more zebra crossings, also in Chanamukaka.
Why am I saying this, Simon, is that he really emphasized the issue of synergies.
Yes.
And I cannot underestimate that. While you do a zebra crossing in Chanamukaka, we come on board, you know. Probably there is a cultural trail there that we can both, you know, ride on, and this is how we are going to move forward. Those
Henry,
small little things.
Yeah, I want to agree that as artists, we've also got our social responsibility, and I'm sure as artists we are already doing this. I know artists, for example, Fred Mutebi, he's got a very active organization that is working with the community in Masaka. I know another artist called Colin Sekajugo. He's also very active in Masaka within a community context. And there's so many other artists who are doing all these things. But we are wrapping up. Eh?
Yes, now we're
Yeah, for me, I wanted to wrap up this way by going back to the point that I was emphasizing, the need for government involvement, active involvement in what we are doing. So we need government support and promotion of private enterprise in arts and culture sector through endorsement and direct funding of sustainable art projects such as the Kampala Art Biennale. Government should also support national efforts towards establishing a contemporary art museum. It should also help in establishment of regional cultural arts and culture centers, direct involvement within the Ministry of Tourism. Yeah? And this is simply because, in my opinion, government is the biggest and richest player within the economy that we call Uganda. Yeah? If it doesn't help us, we are very fragile people. We artists are very fragile. Every artist here knows that we are extremely emotional, extremely opinionated, and all this stuff. So government must come in and treat us, you know, like glass or like, what do you call very expensive things? Not gold. We are like very, very old cultural artifacts that need to be handled, antiques, yes. So we need to be handled in such a way that we are preserved so that anyone else who wants to interface with us, in form of tourism, will find us very happy people, and then we will be able to move forward as a country. And I'm sure this would benefit not only the artists, but also the economy as a whole.
Thank you very much, Henry. And I should remind you that you are actually sitting with the government.
Yes.
So you're already at one table together. Yes, once we leave here, the three of you should go and focus and tell us all what to do. how we should follow your, should we call it pressure
Movement.
group?
Pressure
It's a
group.
new movement. You'll give us the name. Final comments, Francis?
Yeah, I want to appreciate this debate because, one, you've been able to bring the three of us together, and I believe that that is the kind of synergy we'd want. When I came to Uganda National Cultural Center, my aim and what I've been preaching has been partnership, collaboration, and it's paying off because, you know, I have many people coming in and we are synergizing. Now, the other day I was with the Minister of Tourism, and then the same thing, we talked, and she was like, we need to work together. And then to me, that is the way to go. And we are saying, tourism, the art sector, culture, we need to work together because otherwise we will not. Then we need to have some, what we call flagship projects. Like you said, one of the flagship projects that I think we need to emphasize is the regional centers, so that we're able to get talents from there and so forth. Those flagship projects must be funded by government. Government must come in and say, and this is the area we need to all be talking. Then, you know, you're talking about other flagship projects, like we have major events like this. We should have them as, you know, we're doing it together, and we say, these are national things that we do it maybe yearly, and we know it is in the calendar. Government comes in to support it. And then we have our sister here to promote it so that international is known and national is known, and therefore we have that synergy and we'll be able to move very far. The last point is that, and this is something I wanted to say and I want to say again, is that we need as government to prioritize culture and tourism as an investment sector. We need to put these two industries as just the same way that we look at roads, the same way we look at those other sectors, maybe electricity and so forth. Culture and tourism and art needs to be put as a priority sector, where government has to invest in, and therefore, as I said earlier on, you cannot do anything, because when you're talking about culture, we are saying cultivate. We need to cultivate, and therefore, if you're going to cultivate, you need the resources, you need the facility for you to be able to cultivate. And I believe this is a very interesting and a very important forum that we should be able to continue with it. And I believe we'll move a mile.
The good news is that within the tourism framework, we now have regional tourism clusters. We have Banyachigezi, we have the Busoga Tourism Initiative, Northern Uganda, we have West Nile. We can penetrate, we have existing structures. Actually, from here, we have another event. You are asking me about the other initiatives that we are undertaking to promote domestic tourism. One of them is the Miss Tourism pageant. So we have a launch later today, and that is another one where we do, you know, we showcase our country. And it's a combination of our culture through the people that are contesting, but at the same time, there are people who are coming from different parts of Uganda. And this year, it's going to be different because they are coming from the different regions. Chigezi, like I've mentioned, Ankole, it's going to be very interesting. So we are going to have competition at a regional level. We have 3 winners from there, they come here. But while we do this, we take all these contestants right from 0 level to visit our cultural or touristic attractions within the regions, within the districts and the like. So in short, I'm saying that let's work together. The regional platforms are there. There are some key people we know in some of these places that we have identified you can work with. We can say, hey, when you go to Simon Kaheru's village, there is Mzili, you know, that sort of initiative. So that's the only way we are going to showcase our diversity as a country.
Very good. And using, of course, art as well as culture. Art, culture, tourism, ladies and gentlemen. Please give these 3 people a round of applause. I must point out that this panel discussion here is only the beginning of a discussion that needs to run on and on and on. for the duration of time, because obviously there is no end to culture, there is no end to art. And if those two continue, there will definitely be no end to tourism. The three of you go hand in hand, and all of us exist to support that. During this month, this is going to be our focus, not us who are sitting here, all of us in Uganda. And it's going to be the focus of this continent, because the entire continent is going to be looking at Kampala, following the events under the banner of the Kampala Art Biennale. I'm going to invite our lead organizer, chairman, Mr. Daudi Karungi, who I'm sure you all know, who's going to make a few remarks about this month, maybe talk a little bit about the tribulations of putting this together, but also the hopes and joys that he has ahead of him. And he will introduce the representative of the Minister of Tourism, the Public Relations Officer at the Ministry, so the government is here and is aware of what we are doing. Mrs. Emma Mzili, Daudi, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very glad to see you here. An invitation that was sent to you. It's very important. Most people don't respond to invitations. I would like to welcome all of us, ladies and gentlemen, here, because this is the first time we are doing something of this nature. There's been a lot of, this project has been an idea, a bit monstrous, a bit unachievable. You know, like I've got a few of my friends who kept pushing me and saying, you can do it, it can happen. And then but amidst this turbulence, or you can't do it, it can't happen. And when you tell me you can't do it, then you just know that it's going to happen. So this is, to me, a very important moment for myself, for the country, for the artists in Uganda, for artists in Africa, and for artists like us who are not selling for $800,000. Because this is one of the ways to empower us to share, exchange, and grow to that level of $800,000. So I didn't want to say much about the show, because as a curator, as a co-curator with Henry, we set up a show. It's existing. There's a lot of text. There's also other shows. This show is actually 1 in 3. So if some of the artists don't see their work here, it's in another exciting part. You can't see this show by visiting only here. So we'll give you the program at the end, perhaps. I wanted to just thank, because I didn't want to say things that many people have said, or many people will assume that I'll say. But the thanking is that I wanted to thank the government of Uganda for a very almost simple reason, but very important reason. The government of Uganda for creating a situation where things like this can actually happen. Because when we wanted to set up this Biennale, I went to UTB and Minister of Tourism and the UNCC, who represents Minister of Culture, and you just open the door and you go there and you see the guy and he says yes, and then no, yeah, and then you do it. So to create an environment, like when we came to the museum, this is one of the greatest buildings in the nation. You see the commissioner, and you tell her what it's about. She says yes, you can do it, because they believe in it. But it's only a government like this that allows for these ideas to happen. We have visiting artists from other countries. They came in, they were received at the airport and they arrived. And I think, I hope you've got what I'm trying to say, but I think the atmosphere is really good for anything to germinate in this environment. So I'd like to thank the government for that kind of energy. And then when I'm thanking government, I'm thanking mostly UTB, because UTB, Uganda Tourism Board, for those of us who are not, of you who are not from here, Uganda Tourism Board is in charge of is the operating arm of the Ministry of Tourism, I would imagine. And through UTB, we got into the Ministry of Tourism, therefore we got into government. And as much as the discussion was going where people were talking about we want government to do this, I believe that we started that conversation. I will not stop having that conversation. I have this lady and gentleman here who are very crucial to that conversation, and I'll make sure that I disturb them so that the parliament or something, whatever that body,
yes,
writes that law that says that every Ugandan government building must have art in it, or must have 3% of this budget dedicated to art. Something of that nature, so that it's not just they support art, but you know, there's a law whereby if you don't, you can get sued if your building didn't have art. So, that's for government and UTB. I want to congratulate the artists that are part of this inaugural Biennale. These artists are, I would call you very historical artists, because anybody who is part of a fast, the lifeline of that fast makes you the historical, yeah, makes you the hero, makes you, you know, like you always remembered as a fast. Because being a fast, in this case, if we celebrate, if we are here again in 40 years for the 20th Kampala Biennale, you know, the fast is always, and they say it in relationships, the fast, something like that, the fast cut or something. So I would like to congratulate these individuals. I'd like to congratulate from Uganda, Ronex Ahimbisibwe, Paul, they are 45, so maybe we'll clap after each country. Ronex Ahimbisibwe, Paul Ndema, Karungi Kabuye he thought he was not doing art, but he's actually an artist as a photographer. Also, we need to know what art is, because most people think art is paintings and sculptures. There's more to art than just that. We'll get to know throughout this month. Anwar Sadat Nachibinge, Erian Subuga Sane, Joshua Ivanda, Ronnie Tindi Chris, Ronald Kerango, Henk Yonka is Dutch, but kind of lives here indefinitely, so he's become Ugandan. Waswa Donald, Babide Leila, Gillian Gibbon is also from the UK, but lives here for, I don't know when she'll go back or stay or something. And then Shelley Van Hussein, also Dutch, but lives here for the longest. From the US, yeah. But the name sounds like. From Kenya, we have artist Samuel Gitui, we have Justus Chalo, we have Yassi Ali Muhammad, Ann Omolo, and Michael Soy. From South Africa, we have Nisi. Some of this pronunciation may not be correct, but I'll say them as I read them. Senzo Njabulo Shabangu, Nico Fuko, that is Fuko, Ryle Saleh, Daniel Rankadi Mosaka, Sylvie Phillips, Sifo Mpongo, Yuan Orantia. From Ethiopia, we have Alex Tadese, Ezra Wube, Jonas Melesa, Zerihun Seyum. From Angola, Felicidad, the name I can't enjoy in the country, so you teach me how to pronounce this other name. From Ghana, we have Florine Mothen, Akwele Suma Glory. From Nigeria, former Isiwe, Olusola Otori. From Togo, we have Da Costa Kwame, Ivo Gopal Dagnogo. Inga Matindike Gondo, Danisiles Nkube, Rudo Nyangulo, who's also in the country, Nick Monroe, and from the DRC, George, somewhere here in the area. So these artists with the exhibiting artists who are here, those are the artists. They have a tag similar to this. From Tanzania, Diko is in the house. In Tanzania, we have Jan Van Esch. Jan Van Esch is Dutch, but in Tanzania. So from the whole country of Tanzania, we have Jan Esch. So I would like to thank those artists, congratulate those artists for being part of that. Thirdly, I'd like to thank our sponsors. I would like to encourage each one of us, those who are living in Uganda especially, to support these growing companies and organizations, because these organizations support art. I don't think there's anybody sitting here who is interested in art. I don't think there's anybody who would need for art to grow. But some things like these exhibitions cost putting up these billboards and shipping artwork and doing all these things. So I want to thank, I would like you to support company. I'd like you to drink, if you drink beer or water, drink Nile Gold beer, Nile Special beer. Not because, because they sponsor us, but also they're really good beers. I drink beer. They also have Renzori water. You go to look for beer and they say beer, you say the club or Nile Gold, yeah? But they have beers. Go to their website, look out for their events, go to their events, because they support art. As much as it's not like, the way they'll put it in Miss Uganda or something ridiculous as that, but they support art. When we call, I'd like you to send all your SMSs for your big functions, your weddings or something like functions with SMS Media, because they support art. I would like to, if you have to ship anything or transport things like this big cargo and stuff, in and out, you're in business of import, export, whatever, that kind of stuff, flying things. They can even deliver like a live heart, yeah, like a transplant. I think they should, if you can bring a heart. That is Balore Africa Logistics. They are formerly SDV Transami. They are friends of art for a very long time. They've supported a lot of art initiatives, and you knock onto their door. They don't say come to the office. The guy says, let's have a coffee. I would discuss funding for art, not sit in the lobby and wait for me for 20. Because I don't wait for people. If you can't do it, then I do it. I would like to thank Photogenics. They printed all the photographs that we have here. Photogenics does all your photo printing, and they will, I'm sure they have adverts out there. They will continue with this. But the idea is to support these companies that support us. Other companies like billboard company Prime Media, they gave us over 7 billboards with. We had a discussion, a deal, we made a deal, but at least we are in 7 locations, major locations. Kyugi, Sachi, and Sachi, they designed all our material, from the poster, the lovely poster, from all the catalog you see. Those of you who might get a chance to buy one of the very few catalogs available. We'd like to thank our partner organizations like that, who have a space for, I always said, a space for people without offices. If you don't have an office, you go and pay them 20,000, you work for the whole day with the internet. So they support us, they're our partners. More Uganda, they're in the communications. President Masade is a very important figure in that. Of course, I don't want to forget our main venues. That is UNCC and Normal Gallery, Makere Institute of Heritage Conservation and Restoration, Makere Art Gallery. It's changed over the years. It was Margaret Trowell, now it's Makere Institute of that. I would like to thank Uganda Museum for always hosting us for these grand events that we always have. They are our friends, like for real, like seriously. And of course, I want to thank the organizers of this event on the institutional level, that is the Kampala Arts Trust. You will know more about Kampala Arts Trust if you go to the website kampalaartstrust.org. And the Kampala Arts Trust will reveal more information as we move on in the month that is coming. There are only 5. The next point, the next people I want to thank is the team. This event here, to put it up, there is no money. You know, like it's one of those events where you believe, you want, you support, and when you do that, everything happens. And I would like to thank our advisors. Mr. Simon Kaheru, he advises on the communication strategies, is a communication analyst, specialist guy. You know, like he makes things happen. All the main things you see in the city, in government or whatever, he makes them happen. But he's always behind on his thing, tablet. Yeah. He also thinks he's an artist because he has a camera. I'd like to thank Fred Masade, is a marketing specialist and communications, marketing and sponsorship advisor. He helped us get who do you go to and how do you go to them when you want to get money for things like this. He gave that kind of advice. And these are celebrated Ugandans in that sense of what they do. I'll mention at this point Elizabeth Kagwa, who works for AfriArt, the AfriArt Gallery, the best gallery in the country. But the way she worked on this project was more than, somehow work kept going on, but then the Biennale kept going on. She has a little child now, and she's my neighbor, so I see her going back, like going, and then, you know, the phone calls, and I don't know, and she's a woman, you know, and somehow we always thought that men were you know, stronger, but that is definitely not true. I'd like to thank, sorry, it's a thanking speech. After thanking, I want to speak. I'd like to thank Desire Akun. What's the other name? No, there's a name. Daphne. Called Daphne. She also works at that name, Desire. So Daphne, she also works at AfriArt. She does a job, just like all of us do jobs. But then you this is Desire over here. Daphne. Daphne, sorry. And then you tell her, you have to do this, you have to do that. And yes. She also has a little child. Yeah. And then in between the little child and please, husbands, stay with the mothers of your children, so that, because it's difficult, I think, you know, I would imagine. But I'd like to thank these ladies, especially for that. You guys, yeah, the other one. Jesse is a young man. Jesse Yonjo is a artist as well, because actually I saw his sketch. There's a guy who came on later and then told them do this, do that, and he just did. And these are people who are not, how much is it going to, what has Daudi said? Let's do. What does it mean? It means it's bigger than all of us. Very important. And then on that, I'm going to thank Oh, sorry. I'd like to thank another important person, Yantin Zuber. Yantin from Holland. She decided to live in Uganda. Yantin owns the Hub space. The Hub is a fantastic place. Everybody must go to the Hub. And she does all this website, social media stuff so very well that I wanted to learn to do it, and I said, but there's Yantin, so I will never learn it. Everything I want, I say Yantin. Now she's actually live Facebooking everything here today. So, and on the team, I want to thank my co-curator, Mr. Henry Mzili Mujunga. Mujunga is one of those that over the years I've bounced off. You know? We hang out, we see each other maybe every day. And while we are together, we talk about, let's bring a Biennale. No, yeah. And then everything, he doesn't know that challenges in life. When I tell him that we are going to do a Biennale, he says, yes, let's do it. And then he doesn't know that they cost money. Or government, for him, he says we go and this is the direction, because he's a very smart person. He's a very he researches a lot, he's read a lot, he has a lot of knowledge. I wish all of us could tap into his art knowledge. I've certainly benefited from his art knowledge, and people like him will die, and they will die with their knowledge. So if you know a person like Henry, and you're friends with him, even if you're not, Facebook. Just not Facebook, in face line. Just ask him whatever he knows and let him, he also asks a lot. So let's use people's knowledge, because each one of us has their collected knowledge. And with your collected knowledge, if you share it with your wife and children there, and ask people what can we do, you know, that of knowledge. But Henry is one of those people for me. He's Henry and Paul and Ndema. They are like these guys that I have to talk to every day, because even if they are not with me, I call them. I say, "Did you see that man standing on the road the other day?" And then we start a conversation. I think those are my thank yous. I would like to make a request. I don't want to make a speech. I would like to ask you to, first of all, visit all the galleries and spaces where this exhibition is going to be. There's this fantastic initiative Yantin here and I started 24 months ago. We don't make any money from it. We got one Nile Gold, who we keep going back. We need some more, and it gives us, you know, just enough. We distribute 2,000 copies every month about art and arts and culture and music and name it. And it is dedicated to arts, culture, and entertainment. This edition of this month is dedicated to the Kampala Biennale. And in it is all the activities, that is the main venues and the side activities. So please pick it up, there's copies here, tell others. But also tell your friends, your children, your wives, your girlfriends, I don't know, everybody that you know, to go to these places. I went to have lunch in a place where there's a woman from a market, and I told her, you have to go to, you get more, you know, you are smarter than you were before. So encourage all of you to encourage. We are using social media a lot, so use your social media for that purpose. And I think that's it. Tomorrow, this I wanted to mention, because this is an invite-only event. Tomorrow we are going to do a tour of the 3 main venues, starting at 10 a.m. from Uganda Museum. We'll make, everybody is welcome, the whole world is actually welcome, to come in here with the artists who are present. Can I see the artists that...
Those who are here.
Yeah, those who are here, the artists, exhibiting artists, maybe stand up for recognition. The finalist of, yeah, that's Ro Kerango. Ndema. Yes, Babidi Ndema. That's Sane. We have Harandani over there from Mali. And we have George Senga from Congo. He's a fantastic artist. Oh, we have Michael Yasa, Samuel Githui. These are, so when you see them, please ask them what they think of our crazy Biennale idea. Please, let's visit these locations. And tomorrow when we start here at 10, we'll provide some maybe transportation, but come with your cars. We are not a bank of sorts. We move from here, this show, we'll move with all of us, the artists and everybody. We'll go to the university. There's a fantastic show there. So you'll find some artists are not there, but they are there. We'll see that show. We move from that place. We'll go to Normal Gallery, where we shall have a barbecue at 2 p.m. All is welcome. We have drinks. It is an opportunity for everybody tomorrow to hang out at this tour and at look at the art, have some Nile beer, Nile cold or whatever club beer, and also have debates. Continue with these people debate that they have today. Thank you for listening to me. It's a longer thing I had to make, but I'm glad I made it. And not being, these artists are not people, so we don't know protocol. But I would like to invite the representative of the Minister of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, Ms. Emma Mzili, is going to read the message from our minister, and who couldn't make it today because of some other government functions. Since we are not yet in government, we have to do government functions, and then now we have, but she will get in government and will, yeah. So I'd like to welcome Ms. Emma.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Emma Mzili. I'm the Public Relations Officer at the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities. If you can't hear me, please just let me know and I speak louder. Okay. I love art, although when I was growing up, I thought art was this unattainable thing that only people with finesse could understand. You know, like if you're like me, I watch lots of movies. Art is for the rich and for the classy, and it takes some skill to really fully comprehend what is going on the canvas. But I'm really happy that we finally have a Kampala Biennale. I know the people here, distinguished colleagues, thank you very much for organizing this event. I've worked with Henry before at an exhibition for Dutch masters by a Ugandan artist, and now I'm glad that there are more Ugandan artists. Art, I believe, is something that can be enjoyed and appreciated by even the lay person. And that's why at the ministry, we have a project from the World Bank aimed at developing MICE, that's the meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. And in that project, there's a component for souvenir development, and this basically encouraging authentic, branded Ugandan products. We've had a tendency of focusing on performing artists musically, musicians, the dancers, and yet actually art in this form could qualify as a performing art. Sorry, I don't know why I'm so nervous. But because art, now that we see the importance of art, we know and we would like to encourage display Ugandan art and for to appreciate it. We want to depict the local culture in a hotel in the north or in the west or in the east of Uganda. Would like you to use a painting or a picture made by someone from here to promote the culture and to encourage art and to improve the art culture. Art promotes the country, and that's really what we're focusing on in this project. With your indulgence, I'd like to read the message from the Minister. I am happy to join you all again at the launch of the Kampala Art Biennale, which also happens to be the inauguration of the first art exhibition of its kind ever, not only in Kampala, but Uganda as a country. This idea was established by the Kampala Arts Trust in partnership with the Uganda Tourism Board. The Kampala Art Biennale opened doors for professional artists, photographers, painters, illustrators, cartoonists, writers, and 2D media artists across Africa as they present their thoughts and views on the current African status through their visual work. This exhibition includes over 100 art pieces selected by the International Biennale jury and over 45 artists from 13 different African countries. Each artwork is a love and labor for art and actually encourage other artists around Africa to strive hard to realize potential as it communicates about their concerns for political, social, and economic aspects. It is also presenting a platform for guests and viewers to join in the discussion centered beyond aid to the use of financial resources in Africa to help with transformative growth through the visual arts being showcased. In relation to the theme of progressive Africa, it is obvious that growth and development are happening in Africa right now. This 1-month-long art exhibition will provide a panel that will discuss the relationship between art, culture, and tourism. And we're very privileged, as I mentioned before, to have Mr. Simon Kaheru leading this. When the organizer said that things happen, he wasn't exaggerating. He really does make things happen. Through which Uganda's tourism is expected to expand of this artwork. To the Western world, interest in the art pieces will drastically create a platform for other related tourist attractions in Uganda. Tourism can be promoted and developed through use of visual art that will portray the existing tourist attractions in Uganda, and this, in return, can lead to economic growth and prosperity. I would like to congratulate the artists whose work was selected to be showcased today and for the rest of the month, and also to thank the Biennale team, both in Uganda and the international jury, that helped organize this art exhibition, the partners, involved in the event, as you read them out. Thank you very much. With pleasure, I declare the exhibition open.